Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an I.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
What up, people in the world out there?
Can you
Form a love train.
tell me
Yeah.
how to get to Sesame Street?
So guys, today we are doing a real kids movie. I feel like a little kid again. As we watched Follow That Bird.
I was like, on Sesame Street? I got confused. I got confused about the title.
Follow That Bird from 1985. The first, maybe last? No, I think that they've made other Sesame Street.
I think they've gone
inspired movies,
well, like
but-
on TV movies, but
Yeah.
like not like
straight to-
mega
straight to vid.
blockbuster. This
Yeah, this was
Might be it.
Actually I cannot speak. Theatrical release.
Are you having a stroke?
Yes, I am. This was a theatrical release. It actually released in the theaters in like 1985. Made money, decent amount. I looked at it. You know, they always have those stats on IMDb. And it's real sweet, guys. It's a sweet, sweet flick. Did we get it for free?
Yep,
Amazon?
HBO Max.
HBO Max, yeah. Yeah, it's adorable. Good mix of kid and, you know, mostly kid. But
like it's one of those like kids movies that you like is funny because it's so cheesy and
Yeah.
like silly, so that's why it's entertaining.
but some like funny stuff for the adults, I'd say too.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Here
you know,
and there.
Yeah, wasn't. Too
But I don't know if it's
sappy.
funny on purpose for adults or like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just different than like targeted towards versus. Wow, that is hilarious.
Totally.
I don't know.
So, Sweetie had never seen this. I have I really haven't seen that movie that often, but when I would go to my friend Annie Kanu's house when I was in like first or second grade, let's say, she always wanted to watch this movie. And like, honestly, I hated it because I didn't like the scary bird woman, Miss Finch, and it used to give me nightmares. And I think it was because like Big Bird would be kind of scary because he's like a tall, upright, walking bird. That's a little weird, right? It's a little weird. It's a little off-putting, but he's so sweet. He's very bright and happy with his colors. He has those kind eyes. The Miss Finch is basically like an evil-looking Big Bird, and she's like in this car, and she's chasing Big Bird, and just like the way he reacted to her, I got very scared of. So I'd always go to Annie Kanu's house, and we'd watch this movie, and I would just like dread it. And you know, those
Wait, you would watch it every time?
I feel like she loved it. I remember one specific time, but like I remember the house, like I remember the basement where we used to watch movies. Her mom had, I want to say, Lyme disease or lupus, so was like sleeping all the time. So she was like around, but not around.
Jeez.
I think she eventually like
HIPAA. Should we change their names?
over it. Yeah. And then sad story about Annie Kanu. She's okay, but like a couple years later, she was like riding her bike on the highway on the sidewalk.
thought she was riding
was
a horse.
wobbly, fell into the road, and a car almost hit her in the head. But she had a helmet on, so she was okay.
I always thought she was riding a horse for some reason. was
she,
someone
like,
riding a
fell
horse
on the highway? It was
once?
very. It was
I remember
terrible.
that. Yeah.
Remember that?
Did we
Anyway.
talk? Have we talked about this before?
I don't. Well, it was like she was in my kindergarten class, but then stayed back. So then we were friends. But then once she stayed back, I wasn't friends with her anymore because we weren't in the same grade, you know. It wasn't like when you're in elementary school, you're like so segregated by grade. It's like only who in your grade you hang out with, right?
Can't make friends outside your grade. Forget it.
So anyway, that's the history of Annie Kanu. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure she is. She's a lovely girl.
Please don't sue us.
I went to high school with her, and she was really nice. How's your mom? I hope she's okay. Remember her dad, like, was the gym teacher, and we did like the presidential like fitness award, whatever, and he was like so impressed of how far I could do the V sit and reach.
Wow.
It was always my talent because I was a dancer and I was really flexible, and he was like bowled over at like how well I could do the V sit and reach.
I can't believe you kept going. I'm like, she still has more Kanu history. What the fuck?
It's kind of scary. I mean,
terrifying. I'm embarrassed.
This is how my memory works.
I think we should edit this out. What's the time? Okay.
So Follow That Bird is a movie from the Sesame Street like world. And that world was created by Jim Henson, includes all Jim Henson's puppets, right? So we were talking about this before we watched it. So Jim Henson stuff is really split up into like Sesame Street world and then the Muppet world. So like Sesame Street was when you were little, and then that kind of stops. I feel like you outgrew Sesame Street when you're like what, 5, maybe 6.
That's what happened when I came around.
Yeah,
you had outgrown it.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't watch it.
I wasn't watching. You didn't watch it when I was at school or anything?
No, because I would only watch whatever you guys were watching. So if you had gotten over it by the time I came around, then that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of why I didn't watch it.
So
we had moved on.
Yeah. So, Sesame Street started in the 70s. I was like a mid-80s baby, so I would have been watching it from like 85, which is when this movie came out, to like probably like 88, let's say, 89. So I was like kind of like in the thick of things with Sesame Street. But then you would like move on. And the Muppets were also going on at this time. So you had all the Muppet movies, which I feel like were what they were trying to do here, because you have like sort of the mix of the puppets and the humans kind of interacting.
Well, weren't they around the same time?
Exact same time.
Isn't there like a scene in the Muppet movie where you see Big Bird walking down the street from this movie?
like
and it was
like
so meta.
There's Kermit's in this. Yeah. So there is some crossover.
I know there's crossover, but like I'm talking like same universe, same time period.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think it is. But Muppets have, way more movies, are a little bit more cutting edge, a little bit more like adult, yeah.
Mature.
And then we watched Muppet Babies. That was like a big Muppet thing for us when we were little.
True.
So yeah, we'll have to watch that one. I love that show. So that was sort of like the Jim Henson world. So you're all really steeped in it when you're like a little kid. Mm-hmm. And so they decided to make this movie, which was sort of a combo, puppets, real people. There's a little bit of actual animation in it. And then they made it sort of a sweet little musical by having these songs in it, and having mostly sung by Big Bird, I guess, and then who he meets like on his travels.
I feel like they could have got rid of all the songs, just keep like one song.
Yeah,
would have been fine.
The songs
they
were
had
not
no
like
connection.
Super memorable. They were no connection. Like Big Bird, sorry, I really can't hold a tune.
It was like, I'm walking down the street and I see a piece of grass. It's like, great, cool. Okay.
It almost feels like, does every kid movie like need a song? Like,
let go of the songs. We don't like them that much.
Right. They were just okay. So who's in this movie? So all the sort of, most famous Sesame Street characters. Sweetie, why don't you name the ones that you remember or recall?
Bert and Ernie.
Yep.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Oscar the Grouch. Mm-hmm. Telly. Yep. Cookie Monster. Count Kula. What's his name?
He's just the Count.
The Count. Big Bird, we get him.
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus. Yep. I keep thinking of Muppets, and it's like fucking me up. Okay, the weird one, Grover.
Yes.
Oh my God, who am I missing? The dog?
Honkers.
Yeah.
The big dog, Barkley, I want to say his name is.
But yeah, that's
so the main ones, and then you have all the adults who live in Sesame Street. So Sesame Street, in case you're living under a rock, is like this street.
Listen, I was living under a rock because when this started, I was like, is this what Sesame Street is? I'll tell you what Sesame Street is, you guys. Sesame Street is a place where all these Muppets are like homeless on the street. And then everybody, all the humans like live maybe on that street or like near that street. And all they do all day, instead of like real jobs, is hang around with these homeless Muppets.
Yeah.
And learn stuff.
Well, there is that general, like the store, Mr. Hooper's store, which like
He's
died.
dead.
So they took over, or Bob took over, or whatever. But you're right. That's basically like what it is. So it's like a block. Is it in New York City?
Yeah.
I forget. It's
On the
New
map,
York?
it seems to be.
Looks like Brooklyn or something like that. Very diverse. So not only diverse in the sense that there's like all different kinds of Muppets. So birds and people Muppets and monsters and whatever. You have diversity in terms of the actual humans who live there too.
So much.
So people of different colors.
It's really great.
I was really struck with, and I didn't remember until we started watching this, the woman who does sign language, who's deaf. And that as a kid was like my first introduction to a deaf person.
Totally.
And that character was great. You had all the characters knew sign language so they could understand her and they could sign back to her. And it was such like a cool perspective. So
This is why
Really.
representation is important.
yeah, and so awesome that kids had that in, starting in the 70s, whenever it started, and having that view. It was just so cool. And it's still on today. Yes, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. Who is kids?
There's like, isn't it like the new Sesame
Yeah.
Street or something?
Yeah,
like
they
on
like
HBO.
have done new They've done new things with it for sure. So this was on like for us, it would have been like PBS. I want to say it was like the very like Channel 2. This is before like cable TV. So like that was on. Mr. Rogers was on that channel.
See, I was a Mr. Rogers gal.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers like kind of at the same time because this came first, and then like this would be on in the morning, and then Mr. Rogers was always like after it. So anyway, so back to the adults. So the adults, if you remember, are Gordon, a black man, bald, mustache, very cool, has a VW Bug. I don't know what his like job is. I think they do have jobs within
I
the
don't
street.
believe it. Everyone just seems to be hanging around.
Olivia, who is his sister, we figured out. Maria, who's basically
Boss bitch.
Boss bitch, most talented actor of the human people group, we decided. She nails
You're
it.
welcome.
She was always my favorite. Bob, who, story later on, I met him. Thank you.
No big deal.
No big deal. Luis, who doesn't go on the road trip, so he's like a smaller part in this one. And then Linda, who is the deaf woman. So those were kind of like, and then I think there was one more, like we said, Mr. Hooper like owned the store, but he dies
He
in
did.
real life. And I think.
Yeah.
And then so they had to take him off the show, but he's like always remembered. His little picture was like next to Big Bird's nest. And then I think there's a couple like other random ones too. So then you have also actual movie stars in this. So they got, some mostly like comedians, people who are on like SNL.
It's just like the Muppet movie.
Yeah. And like the Canadian version of SNL. We always forget what that's called.
SCTV?
Yeah. Yep. So you have Sandra Bernhardt, John Candy, Chevy Chase, Dave Thomas, and Waylon Jennings as this truck driver. And as Sweetie said, sings the kind of one pretty good song in this about
I didn't
traveling
say that
on the
yet.
road or something. Oh no.
I didn't say which song it was. Spoiler.
I don't even remember how it goes. But,
Spoiler.
it was.
I wrote one lyric down. Ain't no mountain you can't climb. I don't know if that's the tune or not, but that's the words.
And then there's a bunch of scattered. Sesame Street was full of like most rando kids that were like, I don't even know if they were.
Well, what are they
consistent.
up to?
Yeah.
Are we in? What's happening here? Is this school? Like, is it
here's-
summer?
here's my
Maybe it's
confusion.
summer. They were in shorts.
That's true. So at the beginning of this movie, you find out that Big Bird is 6 years old.
Oh my god!
News to
Mind
me.
blown.
Okay. I thought all the Muppets were. I didn't think they were children by any means.
I thought Big Bird was just a really dumb adult bird.
Yeah. And I don't know which ones are children because once they go to try to find Big Bird, half of them have cars and drive. So
I mean, I think Elmo's probably a child.
that's what I'm thinking.
Cookie Monster, maybe. He's just
Maybe.
eating cookies. He doesn't seem to have much vocabulary.
I mean, as you said, it's hard to tell, right?
it seems pretty ambiguous. the age range of a Muppet.
Well, and how they act. Because we just thought that Big Bird was like a little bit, sweet but dumb. Turns out he's just 6.
Listen,
so
although, I mean, not to take away from the fact that, yes, everyone's pretty dumb. Like, all the Muppets are pretty dumb. Except for Oscar the Grouch, they're pretty dumb. He's the only one that's, like, with it. That's like, you know? I'm team Oscar, so.
Him and his sloppy jalopy.
Oh, my God. Get me a sloppy jalopy right now. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, so it was really sweet. Really brought me back again. I don't think I've seen this movie like 100 times. I mean, I guess I didn't go to Annie Con, who's that much, but
wow, she's back.
but,
You're obsessed. You're obsessed.
But yeah, sweet movie. I'm glad we saw it. Glad it's available to watch. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, ready to get into this plot?
Yeah. It might get complicated. I don't know.
Okay, it's time for the sweetie synopsis.
Yeah, sweeties.
Keep your shirt on.
Who said that?
The Grouch Diner. Sandra Bernhardt. Someone's like, "Where's my jelly beans?" And she's like, "Keep your shirt on."
You really say jelly beans?
No, because like they're ordering the most random like gross shit in there. I love the Grouch Diner.
It. Big Bird is a 6-year-old bird living on Sesame Street, and he has a pretty good life. I mean, he lives on the street, but he's got a nice little setup. He has a mailbox. It seems like he has a decent amount of privacy.
The nest, it's like a nest on the street, but then there's like a thing around it, right?
He's like, yeah, it's a whole little like compartment. Like it's basically an apartment for Big Bird.
And that's the other confusing thing. So you're telling me he was a 6-year-old living on the street?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, why aren't we like building him a house or like maybe the birds of a feather or whatever like had a point.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the movie
maybe that is adult and bird years though.
Whoa. Okay. Now we're getting down the rabbit hole. But okay. So to back up, the very beginning of this movie, a group of birds called Feathered Friends is meeting to discuss the next case. So this is a group that like looks for like sad, poor, lonely, homeless birds and then finds homes for them. So you're like, oh, that seems decent. So Big Bird is their case. I don't know how they found out about him, but maybe because there's a TV show about him called Sesame Street. You get emails from somebody at work again?
Who's working right now? That's my question.
Well, probably the person who was last time. So I don't even know where I was. Thanks a lot.
Feathered Friends.
Feathered Friends. All right, so they're gonna go find Big Bird. So like, tell me how to get to Sesame Street. Ha ha ha. So this lady shows up. Her name is Miss Finch. Is Ms. or Miss?
I don't know her marital status.
Well, Sweetie, let me tell you, had a continuous visceral reaction to Miss Finch. She would like recoil. It was like me watching Puppet Hands. Like I just like so upset.
That's what like stuff that when you're
I know.
a kid
I just
does to
seems
you.
like you had a really traumatic experience, and I'm sorry. I thought she was cool. I liked her purple hair,
But
and
you'd only ever seen her through the eyes of an adult.
I know. It just really makes a difference. Okay. So she shows up and is like, hey, you shouldn't be living here. You should be having a nice family who are the same, like, genius as you. I don't know if...
Did she use that word? It's a big word for
like,
Sesame Street.
She's using, like, birds. Like, oh, like, you can live with these dodo birds. Like, Big Bird's not a dodo bird.
True,
so it's like...
But it is like a bird. Like, this group believes, like, birds should be with
birds of a feather should flock together, basically. So he gets convinced in like 0.2 seconds because, you know, like I said, he's a little dumb and he's 6. So he's like, all right, I got to go say bye to everybody. So everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you can't just like leave and go to some weird place. And he's like, nah, I'm going to do it. I think I have to do this. They're like, okay. So they're all pretty sad. They say bye to him, including his best friend, Mr. Snuffleupagus. It's really cute. And then off Big Bird goes with Miss Finch. And so did she have a family lined up already?
I guess so.
Okay. So she's like, okay, good news. You're going to live with the Dodo family. And so this is in Ocean View, Illinois. The Dodos. Wow. Okay. If you thought the Muppets were dumb on Sesame Street, wait until you get to the Dodos where it's just like a little too extreme. It's like Ernest times 1,000. It's like too much for me. It's too much. No one can be that dumb. I'm sorry. So he meets this family, and Big Bird's such a good sport, and like I really admire him. I really admired him in this movie because he just went with the flow and like was nice about everything, and just like he's just like, you know what, this isn't working out. It wasn't a great time. They were like looking for worms. They don't know how to use lawnmowers. Who the fuck knows what's going on? They have like these weird swings in the living room that I like looked quickly and I was like, why are all these stripper poles in the living room? Because it was like a weird like sunken living room with like poles. It seemed weird.
And it feels like the message was also, so they like pull into their block and it's like classic suburbia. So all the houses look the same. They all have like 1950 style station wagons with like the fins on them. And then, but their house is a birdhouse, right? So there's like this long pole. So they pull into the driveway and it's just this like long pole with a door in it. And then their house is like on top of that, like a birdhouse. So it's very, and like everything looks the same, right? So you're talking about Big Bird, like moving from like diversity, the big city blocks, all that.
Good
to like,
point.
You know, suburbia where everything looks the same. Everybody looks the same. And people are just kind of doing like dumb suburban shit. Like they do a workout video, but they have like a swimming pool. So it's stuff that like he thought he wanted, but really like has no interest in.
What's the point if all your friends aren't there? Like,
What's the
hell?
point if the swimming pool would fit like one of your legs?
What the fuck? Also, but like P.S. though, dodos are extinct, so like we should be treating these people with like respect and like maybe keeping them locked up somewhere, but not letting them riding lawnmowers like crazy people. Birds. So Big Bird writes to his friends back at Sesame Street, and he's clearly blue. Writing, he's just like, "This is great, but I'm just really not having a good time." It's like so sad. So he decides he's going to leave. Now, okay, he chooses to leave in the middle of the night, which
that
is
was
like
also like
questionable.
He wanted Snuffleupagus wrote him a letter and wanted him to visit. To visit.
Oh, right.
And like he asked the bird family, and they're like, "Oh, he's a bird," and he's like, "No, he's a Snuffleupagus." Well, he can't come visit.
Yeah, he can't
like,
come visit.
He's not a bird. He can't be his friend. And he's like, "Hell no, I'm out of here."
Pretty racist.
Yes.
So discriminatory. So yeah, he's like, "I'm out of here. Peace." So he's off. So he decides he's going to walk back to Sesame Street. So he's in Illinois, like Ocean View, which seemed to be like southern Illinois. And then he's going to walk back to NYC, he believes. So he's like, it'll take me about 3 hours.
Because that's how long it took him on the plane. So he's like kind of confused.
Right. It makes sense, but not. Like, it seems like Big Bird's just missing like key component. Like, I guess they didn't do a lot of geography on Sesame Street. Like, maybe they were just he was a great reader, but I think he just needed to brush up on the geo.
Well, I mean, and also like when you're 6, you don't really know how far away.
Listen, don't make excuses. They have nothing else to do on that street except learn. I'm sure he's advanced. He should be advanced. So he's on his way. The people at Sesame Street are like, fuck, like we gotta rescue him. Like he's not gonna fucking make it back here. He's walking. Like what a idiot. They didn't say that. You could tell they were thinking it. So they get out this map and Bob's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're all gonna take separate routes. And we're all gonna get in these like cool Muppet cars that we have, and we're gonna like intercept him. Hopefully one of us will like find him because I'm sure he's bound to get lost. So all that he needs to do, Big Bird, is walk in the general right direction, and they will find him. It's questionable that it happens. I was shocked, honestly, that he did. I thought he totally went the wrong way when he went down the not a through street.
Yeah.
So whatever. So Big Bird's off on this adventure. And then the gang's after him.
Name the gang cart.
So,
like,
okay, so we have the Count, who has like his own super nice, souped up car. I'm confused because he doesn't have any passengers. Sweetie thinks it's because there's only one seat in this car.
It looked like all the seats were blocked off.
What's the kind of, like
the
a
driver.
roadster? Like
Yeah.
a road.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah,
So it's
something like that.
Purple, has bat wings on it.
It's like the car Cousin Matthew died in Downton Abbey. Spoiler. So that's one. That's car one. Car two, the yellow VW Bug, which is what's his name?
Gordon's.
Gordon's car. He's with his sister, and then Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster has unfortunately decided that the car is a cookie and eats through the car progressively throughout the trip. It's pretty funny. And then we have my favorite car, the Sloppy Jalopy, driven by Oscar the Grouch. And poor Maria gets saddled in to the Sloppy Jalopy with the other people in the car. And
the honkers.
And Telly. Wow. I mean, I just can't believe that car is functional. Like, it really stressed me out because it'd be like, okay, we're off. And all the tires were flat. And I was just like, it was giving me like, just like freaking out. I was like, how are they going to do this? But they're Muppets. I just love the fact that they have cars, you know?
I know.
Good for them. Wow. They made it.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's working.
I mean, Oscar
clearly.
lives in a trash can, but he has a car.
But he has a car that is a literal trash can on wheels, but he makes it work. So I think that's it. And then Bert and Ernie go in a plane because they have their pilot's license, and they're off on a discovery tour. So I think that's all the people looking for him. Snuffleupagus decides he's taken Big Bird's last message to heart and is like, I'm just going to watch all of his things until I die. So he's just sitting on the nest.
It's very loyal.
Yeah, I thought he was going to pop up someday. He pops up in like a vision, and I'm confused. I'm like, did Snuffleupagus learn how to astral project himself? I mean, he has to do something.
Understand Snuffleupagus.
What do you mean?
His whole scene, I'm like, what?
I'll tell you why. I noticed this in the movie. So you can, I'm pretty sure that this is true, but usually in movies like now, right, you do the audio, you film the audio like after so that you can like make it not sound like terrible or whatever. So in this, you can clearly tell that like they made that guy say his lines through the costume, but not outside of the costume. So he's like trying to talk through that costume, and it's just like weird and muffled. And it was super awkward. And I was like, yeah, this is weird. But eventually they figured it out. So, all right. So Big Bird is off. The people are off. Now we have an alternate villain. So we have not only Miss Finch looking for Big Bird, we also have the Sleaze brothers who run like a dishonest fair, as you would if your name was Sleaze. They see a news report about Big Bird, and they're like, wow, we could make some money with him. Let's find him. So it's very interesting to me that it's just like people just seem to turn up and be like, we're going to find this bird. Where are they? Are they anywhere in the United States? And they're going to find the bird? Oh, guess what? They do. So a couple things happen here. Big Bird meets like a nice turkey farmer, which I'm like, did he talk to the guy and be like, oh, you're going to kill all these turkeys? Like, right? I felt bad. I felt really bad about it. And then I thought maybe he was going to find out and let them all go by accident, and then they would fly away. But I don't think that's what happened. So they sing that song, as Sweetie was mentioning. We can't really remember the tune, but it was a good song. Probably, I think, the best song in the movie by far. And then, I don't know, what happens next? A couple close calls with Miss Finch, like, creeps up on him a couple times.
Well, he comes across a farm. He gets dropped off by the turkey farmer, played by Waylon Jennings, finds this not a through street or whatever, so he walks down that and ends up hearing or seeing chickens, and that leads him to his farm where this young boy and girl live. So he instantly bonds with them because that's what he knows. It's his whole life on Sesame Street. So he instantly bonds with the kids. They put him up in their barn. They have like a big barn full of hay, so he makes his little nest up there. And then they have a lovely day doing like farm chores and singing another like really cute song, which is kind of the one I remember now, but now I don't remember what the name of it was. Yeah, I kind of remember that from when I was little, but real sweet. So they do all these farm chores, and then they're like walking down the road, and Miss Finch ends up coming up behind them. So that's when Big Bird has to say goodbye to the kids, and he like hugs them and kisses them. It's so cute.
It's really sweet. And
then jumps into the hayfield because he can hide behind one of the hay bales. So Miss Finch is like kind of is onto him, and I remember this part specifically and being very scared of it when I was little. She's like stalking around thinking she's like going to find him behind a hay bale, but he ends up like inside a hay bale. I don't know how you accomplish that. And then runs with it. So you see this like hay bale like running. And I think that's when the Sleaze brothers happen upon him too.
Yep. So now everybody's after him and the Sesame Street gang. So eventually all forces collide. So we have the Big Bird arrives in this town called Toadstool, which I guess is like, I don't know if Bob like did some map magic and was like, he's triangulate the position of like whatever he's going to end here. Because all points end in Toadstool or something. To go through Toadstool. So he gets to Toadstool by some grace of God, and he's in a parade, and so all the Sesame Street people are arriving at the same time. Again, I'm impressed that the sloppy jalopy kept up. I'm just really impressed. So they're all like, "There he is! There's Big Bird." So they try to get him, but unfortunately, the Sleaze brothers get to him first. So they lock him up and take him to a show. They decide they're going to paint him blue, and he's going to be the bird of happiness or something.
Blue bird of happiness.
Blue bird of happiness. But he sings this like terribly depressing song.
I'm so blue.
But why is he the blue bird of happy? Like, what's happy about it? Like, what is this an ironic joke
irony.
that people are supposed to get?
And, like, all the kids are like crying in the audience.
Who wants to
One
see
of the
that?
Sleaze brothers is crying. Well, they are making a lot of money off of him, though.
What are they charging? Like $15 $15 a pop to see a depressed bird cry?
know.
Like, well, who's paying for that shit? So, these two kids come and like find him after the show, and they're like, "Are you safe? Can we take you home?" And he's like, "You gotta call my friends. Call, the store at Sesame Street." So these kids, they're all of like 6 years old themselves. They fucking do their job, get to a payphone. They don't even go to an adult to like try to like get them to help. I was so proud of these kids. I was just like, wow, they were taught well. They probably watched Sesame Street. So they call the people at Sesame Street, and then those people call Maria from the payphone. Or she must have called them.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how payphones work.
They checked in. They checked in with Bob, who had gotten the message.
Bob back at the home hub. So he tells them that Big Bird is trapped in a fair, and they have to go get him. So they go on a rescue mission. He's locked up in a cage. There's this whole like very exciting scene with some keys. They unlock the cage, but the Sleaze brothers drive away because the cage is like attached to in the back of their truck. So now they're driving, and but the door opens of his cage. So then Gordon and his sister are like in the bug, and Gordon's like, "I have an idea." So she's like, "Pedal to the metal, and then we're gonna get Big Bird to jump onto our car, and then we'll be safe." So very exciting. It was practically like Indiana Jones. Yeah. And it works, and he flies on the VW. They reunite. He reunites with all his friends, and then goes back to Sesame Street, where Miss Finch is waiting. So finally they explained to Miss Finch, like, you know what, actually it's okay that he doesn't live with only people of his kind, because he's with all these different people, so he gets to meet all these different people, learn all these different things.
And that's his family.
And that's his family. And she's like, "Okay, you're right. Bye." And then like she's like, "Another job well done that you did nothing for." So that's it. And then everybody's happy, and we're back to Sesame Street, back to square one. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
Wait, does this theme song go? Sunny days, bumping the clouds away. Dun, 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 dun. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
Yeah, good one.
Dun, dun, dun,
Good
dun, dun.
tune.
Yeah, so
it's a
real
bop.
Cautionary tale about the dangers of segregation and why diversity is so important in our lives. So yeah, really sweet. Favorite scenes, sweetie? What made you laugh the hardest?
Okay, what made me laugh the hardest was like the crusty puppets that are being displayed here. Like, I've seen Sesame Street, and the puppets look good. Like, they looked nice. They looked a little like softer. They were like, it was like they left the real puppets at home, and Jim Henson was like, "Oh, I think I have some spares in my suitcase."
Jim Henson phoned it in.
And then took out these crusty, decrepit puppets and used them in this movie. They were all so weird looking. And the weirdest thing was that they gave them all legs, which was deeply upsetting. And I think, I mean, I'm not a Sesame Street expert, but I think that they were like all puppets from the waist up. So when they went to this movie, they had to like obviously translate them to be more on the big screen and like full size, I
Other
guess.
than Big Bird, who you could always see his full thing. 'cause
Right.
He like skated and stuff. I forgot about that.
He like,
And Snuffleupagus, you know, he kind of like moves.
so yeah.
like,
So there's
toddles
this one scene in particular where Bert and Ernie are like sitting at home watching television or whatever, and their legs are like so disproportionate to their bodies. Ernie's legs are like regular human legs, like they just put his body on somebody and was like, just sit here. And then he had like real people legs, and then Bert's over there on the right with these like little stumpy legs. It doesn't make any sense, and it's so upsetting. And then later they're standing up, like talking to each other, and Bert's way taller than Ernie. So you're like, what's the continuity?
Or was that just like an illusion because his head is like the shape of a pill?
What is this, The Hobbit? Like, I don't know.
They did it with Count too, because they show Count like in his little apartment.
He had long
and
legs.
He had weird legs too.
I
and he
don't
like
like
crossed
it.
legs with like these weird little shoes.
I
don't
hate
know.
it.
Was
It's
really
not.
freaky.
It's not my favorite.
You're not supposed to see the bottom half of
No,
Muppets,
I think
you
it was
know?
a mistake. I think they could have figured it out without making them have legs. So basically, I thought that was the funniest part. Obviously, the sloppy jalopy was a big hit for me. And any scene with Oscar. I'm really an Oscar convert. Coming into this, I was like, I'm not sure who my favorite Muppet is. But it was clear to me almost immediately that it was Oscar the Grouch. He's the most relatable. And I just found all of his scenes I resonated with. I just really enjoyed him.
I'm remembering like trying to remember what my feeling was about Oscar when I watched this when I was little, because he's supposed to be like the off-putting character of the very happy, sunny, kind of dumb Muppets, right? So that's always like the counterpoint and the juxtaposition, and he always provides this little like sassy edge to the show.
He's a Miranda.
He's a Miranda, exactly. Which then, as you grow up, you really like relate to, because you're like, okay, no one's happy all the time. Muppets, you need to have some downtime, and like, yes, his whole life is like downtime, but he has all these like, there's other Grouches in Sesame Street, which I forgot about too. I mean, I kind of remembered the girl Grouch, with like the little like they all have like the garbage pail hats. And then remember, like, the kids are, like, his little garbage, like, club or whatever.
Obsessed with that. They had, like, little garbage lid berets. Like, it's really funny. Really funny.
So, a lot of those lines. My favorite scene was when they go to this Grouch, like, diner. So, they had eaten, like, Friendlies for one meal. So, Oscar's like, we gotta eat Grouch food tonight, like, because we've already eaten at Friendlies or whatever. So only Maria and him go in. Telly and then the honker like have eaten enough Grouch food their entire lives or something and won't go in. So it's like, fine. So it's just them. So the Grouch Diner is like the epitome of like the Muppet chaos kind of stuff. If you ever seen Muppet stuff and like there's just like kind of chaos world where like shit's just everywhere. It's really loud. There's like weird shit everywhere. There's a jukebox that's broken. Like the phone won't work. It's just loud in every kind of way. So they sit down to order it, and there's like a chef who's like a hot mess, and you have Sandra Bernhardt as this like waitress in an old diner uniform, so it's like supposed to be like an old diner kind of situation. So they sit down to eat, and like Maria's reading the menu, and it's like really, really gross. It's like garlic soup with maraschino cherries. Like, what am I gonna eat here? So then Sandra Bernhardt's come over and she's like, okay, here are the specials. She's like, roast beef with butterscotch and anchovies. Like, so it's just like all like seemingly good stuff and then all this weird stuff thrown on it to make it gross. I mean, this is Grouch food, right? And then she's like, and the tossed salad. And Maria's like, oh, tossed salad. Like, there's nothing weird on that, right? And she's like, no, like, what do you think? We're crazy or something? And so she's like, the tossed salad. And Oscar's like, the tossed salad too. So then she's like, one tossed salad. And then they have this like, what is that
salad?
thing called?
A catapult.
Yeah, catapult. The chef puts a big head of lettuce and just
trebuchet. Is that something?
wow, that's fancy. Another fancy word from Sweetie. She like launches it and tosses the salad, and it gets all like right at Maria like a freaking salad snowball, and it just goes everywhere. Then everyone in the whole restaurant's like, I want to toss salad. So then the guy is just like launching like heads of lettuce, and the whole place is just like raining salad. Oh man. It is funny.
Yeah.
It was my favorite part.
I mean, the difference between a trebuchet and a catapult, wow. I mean, I'll read up on that later. Very interesting. I'm not sure which one it is.
Geek.
But yeah, that part was really funny. I was doing something. I was trying to feel the baby kick in Sweetie's womb, I think, or something, because I kept missing parts of that. But I could tell it was funny. But the salad, I mean, like, maybe this is why I don't like salad. Like, it just like was gross. Just like all this salad everywhere. I don't know. Toss salad. LOL. Yeah, that was a memorable scene.
Yeah, that was funny. And my favorite part. Like we said, like the songs were just like okay. The harrowing scene where he jumps from the car where he's like in the cage onto the VW bug was pretty exciting for sure. So yeah, we'll sway. Okay, so sadly, this was the last film that Jim Henson worked on.
Oh.
Reminded me of, which is he didn't die till 1990. So,
but this
did
was
he not
85.
make movies from 85 on then? Can that be right? Maybe he was just doing the show.
Labyrinth was before, right?
But it just reminded me
Dark
of how
Crystal.
like sad that was, like when he died, and I remembered it was kind of a freak thing.
Labyrinth was in 1986.
Yeah, that can't be right then. I don't know what that stat was about.
Where'd you read that? IMDb?
Yeah.
Bunch of fakers. You know that.
Bunch of fakers.
What have we learned?
But I remember when he died. Like I was a little kid, but like I remember that was like so shocking to people, and like it was pneumonia, but it was like this very like bacterial, serious one that made him like all of his organs shut down, and he died within a couple days. Like it just started. He was like, "Oh, I have a sore throat. Like I don't feel that great," and then he kind of just tried to work through it. And then I guess like if he had gotten antibiotics like just a couple hours sooner, he might have lived. But it was just like a really fast progressing like bacteria. And was just so shocking to people because, you know, people might have died from that like a long time ago before we had any drugs that could handle it, but you just didn't see people doing it and dying in that way. So I remember it was so shocking, and obviously like he was involved in like so many amazing projects in terms of the Muppets and Sesame Street and, you know, the Star Wars stuff. Like, so wait, did he do those puppets?
Star Wars?
Yeah.
Some of them.
Did he? Okay.
Maybe.
I was quoting that
I mean,
wrong.
Frank Oz
I think I'm
was
confusing
Yoda.
that because Frank Oz is Yoda. Yeah.
I'll verify it.
But, you know, such a presence in like the world, a world of kids, if you were a kid. And there was the voice of, you know, Kermit the Frog and a lot of the Muppets. And I remember when his son had to take over, I always thought that was so cool. Because, like, how do you just, like, take over a voice, you know, when they do that? Kind of freaks me out.
Well, I mean, people that, I mean, are, you know, I mean, like comedians are fantastic.
Yeah.
Impressionists.
I mean, I think Brian Henson, his son, took it, like, over. And, I mean, that would be, like...
All right, so the skinny on Jim Henson and Star Wars. Jim Henson and Star Wars is that while Jim Henson and his company were not officially involved in Star Wars films, the Yoda puppet was built with the help of veteran Henson designers such as Wendy Froud, who became the center of Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Yeah.
So Jim Henson influence.
I also learned that him and his wife had an open relationship.
Good for them. Cool.
They eventually divorced.
So
but they
progressive.
were always an open relationship. Which is
Great.
Cool. I remember there was a good biography on him that I tried to read or maybe listen to audiobook, and I like couldn't get into it. But I really want to get back into that because, you know, how did he get where he like? How did he go from this puppet making to this basically?
Is
like,
there a documentary on HBO too?
yeah, is there?
Max?
I'd be like really
I feel like
interested
there
in that.
is.
And just like what like an empire he made, and like all just so cool, and how everyone has, you know, such a fond place in their heart for all those characters that him and that company created.
And I feel like puppets aren't used as much anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all like animation and.
I prefer puppets. I take puppets over bad CGI like any day.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I'm so sick of that. Like, it's so annoyed that like I mean, they can do cool things with computers, but I don't know. I'm just never that sold on it. And maybe because I didn't grow up with CGI, so it's like kids who grew up with ebooks are like, oh, this is so great. But like, you know, I prefer like a real book.
I guess that's
my story. I'm sticking to
I
it.
guess there's not a doc. Why did I think there was a doc?
Are you thinking of the Elmo doc?
Maybe, but I really thought there was like one just for him.
And then I wanted to bring up that the man who played Big Bird just died semi-recently.
2019.
Yeah, and I remember that was sort of a big deal in the news. His name's Carol.
2 L's.
Yeah, 2 L's, but a man, very tall man. And yeah, had played Big Bird for years. And what a role. Role of a lifetime. Role of a lifetime for like most of these people. I mean, look at Frank Oz. So Frank Oz, you know, once you know like what Frank Oz's voice sounds like, you can kind of hear him in almost everything he does. In this particular movie, he plays, what did we say? Grover and Cookie Monster.
And something else.
And something else.
I forget.
Yeah. But he kind of always sounds like
Telly?
Yoda.
Maybe
I mean,
Telly.
he plays Miss Piggy.
Yeah,
like
but
his big
Grover's like is like
is-
actually Yoda.
Right.
It seems like, except for like talking in the weird like order,
Oh.
but same voice.
But Carol
Spinny.
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 Spinny, what do I have?
We apologize.
Yeah, I think it's Spinny. Voiced Oscar the Grouch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of similar. Yeah. But yeah, he was really cool. So R.I.P. to him. Obviously, really like, I mean, what would we do without Big Bird? Just such a sweetie. Talk about member of
He
the
really is,
Sweetie
and I
Club.
didn't love him before this, and I guess I just didn't know him well enough, and I just assumed he was just like this cheery, like lovable, like stupid bird. But I really felt a strong connection to him, and I liked that his feathers were a little fluffy. He was the only puppet that like wasn't crusty.
Yeah.
His feathers were like very fluffy,
Yeah.
and downy.
They made him look good.
I appreciated it a lot. But I mean, yeah, I would hang out there. Seems fun.
On Sesame Street.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to do like too much math, but like I like it feels like maybe just like dancing and singing songs.
yeah.
I would just come for that and then be like, all right, I'm back to my job.
Here's a question for you. Would you have, if you were an actor or actress, would you have liked to work on a kid show?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just seems like it takes a lot of the pressure off of like having to form chemistry and dynamic with another human being. That can sometimes you can't control like how you're acting with someone. Like obviously if you're a good actor you get over it, but you know, you never know what's going to happen. But with like a puppet, like you can really work with that. You can be like, listen, I think you should put the puppet's arm like over here when I do this thing. Like, I don't know. It just seems like as an actor, you would have an easier job. But I'm just talking out of my ass.
But it seemed like almost all the human actors on this show were, like stayed like forever. Like you read that stat, like the woman who played Maria,
Oh my God.
like just left the show. She was like 65 years old. I mean, it's all she did.
God bless her.
So what a job.
I was in a play called The Dinosaur Play at the Academy, and it was like a super. So we also did Alice in Wonderland that summer, and then this play. And Alice in Wonderland was more of like a family play. This was like strictly a kids play. It was very like audience participation and like super cheesy. I had to be like an explorer and like it was embarrassing. But it was kind of fun because you just like get to be this like super like hammy, like, all right, what are we gonna do now? Like, I don't know. It was interesting. So I think I would like it.
Right, and I'm thinking of all back to all. Okay, so say we always said that about the Blues Clues guy, right? So that was all like green screen or blue screen or
that's
whatever.
tough. With this, at least there's other humans around and
Right.
These
And
elements.
it must have been like a fun atmosphere too for those people to stay for so long, like with the puppeteers who were like actual people.
Minus the guy that like touched kids or whatever. Like, fuck that guy.
Right. And then you have like a show like The Wiggles or whatever. I'm trying to think where it's like you are just entertaining kids.
Yeah.
They're not maybe or like even a Pee-wee's Playhouse kind of a thing. We should do that one. Oh, that reminds me of that wild show. You know what that must be like to just be like zany. You know, and like what kind of person are you if you're doing like kid entertainment?
Probably unstable.
Yeah.
I think that Steve guy was from Blue's Clues. I think he had a problem.
They actually had some stat. I forget who the person was, but only one person like couldn't they filmed this in Toronto. They couldn't go to Canada to film it because they had committed some crime and they were like on the run. And they,
What?
It was some part of their arrest thing that like they couldn't like leave the country. So he couldn't go to Canada to film, so he couldn't be in the movie. And they had like kind of kept it under wraps so he could like do Sesame Street. But then he did have a lot of trouble on the set and then did eventually like get fired or something. Jeez. Because he like stole a car and went on some like joyride crazy spree, and like when he had a mental breakdown.
Was it the sloppy jalopy?
No, I forgot what the character's name was or who the guy was, but anyway, wow. Okay, so time to tell my Bob McGrath story. All right, so I've met a couple famous people: Alex Trebek, Bob McGrath from Sesame Street. No big deal.
The voice of Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Pat Carroll.
So I danced on Cape Cod. We had like, theater is a big world and everyone is always connected, right? So like people who were the dance teachers, like a lot of them had been on Broadway, or a lot of them had these connections to like the bigger like theater and acting world. So if anything was they wanted to do something on Cape Cod, like my teachers would be involved. So they did this thing, where, and I don't know how it got started or what the hell happened, but like Bob McGrath was touring and doing this show based around like Disney songs and songs from Sesame Street. And it was like a kids entertainment thing. And they did like a weekend of it in the summer.
And it was at the Melody Tent?
No, it was at like a hat shell, like kind of
Where?
outdoor place.
Why did I think it was at the Melody Tent?
Yeah. And
Where,
they did it
but like what town?
Hyannis.
Okay.
It was like something by the sea. Like Pops by the Sea was like
I hate that we didn't really have the internet back then, because I'm like trying to find it and it's just
Mom
like
might remember
it's
what
not
it
going to
is.
happen.
So Bob McGrath comes down. So we had like rehearsed all this stuff. So I was in the Little Mermaid one where we did Under the Sea. So we had like a whole dance to it. My dance teacher choreographed it. Me and like 10 other girls were these little mermaids with these little mermaid outfits on. And then there was like my other dance teacher had this big fish head that he had like put on and like played the maracas. And then you had these like Caribbean girls. And Bob McGrath sang Under the Sea, and we just did this dance all around him. So we had practiced this dance all summer, and then like we only had a couple rehearsals with him, and then we put on this show. And then we did it the next year too, but then they added the Beauty and the Beast Be Our Guest song. So like we had everyone was like forks and spoons. Some girl was Mrs. Potts with point shoes on.
But you weren't in that one?
I wasn't in that one.
No.
And then there was like a Rubber Ducky one. Remember that song?
Yeah, Rubber Ducky, you're the one. He like sang it.
Yeah.
Does he sing the song in the show?
No, Ernie does.
I know, but like, was he with him in the tub?
He just sang all the songs. He was doing this like touring
He's
show
a singer?
of all the Sesame Street or Disney like adjacent songs. So I don't know how he got that.
And you think it was a tour? It wasn't just like a one-stop deal on the Cape?
Yeah, but like, what was his connection to the Cape Cod or this
Gotta
area?
ask Terry Norjo. Terry Norjo. Call us.
Yeah.
Give us a call.
So
Get
all
Terry
our,
on the
like,
horn.
all our dance teachers choreographed various numbers in this show. I don't remember like the other ones, but it was just for kids. It was like a weekend in the summer, but it was cool because like he was like a big celebrity at the time. Like, oh, Bob McGrath, especially in like children's circles, So that was really cool, and it was a really fun thing to do. I love doing it. Our Little Mermaid thing was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you must have been like so pumped to like be a mermaid as a little girl. Like, and I remember they were the coolest costumes. I was probably like so fucking jealous.
We all had like long hair, and they put like these little crowns on us, and we got to put all this eyeshadow on.
Yeah, it was like too sexy. It was a little sexy. But,
yeah. But it was like a mermaid costume, so like the top half we had like little shell boobs, but it was like
nude.
It was nude shirt kind of like spandex-y kind of stuff, like a leotard, but with like shells on the front.
Scandalous.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I remember that, and I remember it being like, that's an important person. That guy.
Yeah.
When I was little, probably. So, yeah, good memory.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, but I have such fond memories of watching Sesame Street, like in the mornings, like when I wasn't in school and I wasn't in preschool yet, I don't think. Like I'd wake up as you do as a little kid. You wake up crack of dawn, right? And then I'd go down and I'd get my bowl of cereal, and I'd go in front of the TV and I'd put on Sesame Street, and then Mr. Rogers would come on after that, and it was just such really sweet little memories of when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Just loved
It's
it.
a good one. A good one. All right. Anything else? That's all? All right. Well, did you watch this as a child? Did you watch it for the first time recently, like me? Why? Come find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye. No rape art. This is a children's show.
This feels appropriate to say.